Have you ever wondered how artists achieve that flawless vocal mix, making every track sound polished and professional, and how they manage to release hit after hit with that rich, clean, perfected sound? Well, in this video, I'm going to reveal a simple 3-step system I developed to help you achieve those clean, professional sounding vocals every single time you open up a new mix. No need for expensive gear or prior audio engineering experience. This is going to be a real straightforward mixing system to help you consistently and easily get your tracks ready to share with the world. But first, let me show you a vocal mix that I attempted before employing this 3-step system and how using this mixing system made my tracks 10 times better. So this is a song I actually produced myself. I even laid down my own vocals for it. I actually recorded this like 2 years ago, was just in my fields one night, and yeah, this was the result of it.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in the Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
So as you can hear, the vocals sound kind of mid, just amateurish overall. And as I say, this is when I mixed this song about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, not really knowing what I was doing. But fast forward to 2 months ago when I remixed these vocals using this 3-step mixing system, and this is the end product.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in the Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
Just way cleaner. Yeah, huge improvement on the initial mix, and in my opinion, this is to a high enough standard where I'm confident to release this to the world, which it will be this coming Monday, August the 26th. Link in the description. But yeah, enough talking, man. Let's get into step 1 of this mixing system, which is called the setup. In this step of the process, we're just going to be taking our raw vocals and adding a few fundamental effects that will get the vocals primed and ready for steps 2 and 3. For this video, I'm going to mainly focus just on the main vocals. I'll cover the ad-libs and the backs a little bit later on, but to be honest, both of these kind of follow the same structure as the main vocals anyway. So we're just going to focus in on this main vocals setup. This is step 1 right here. The first plugin that we're going to add is just some EQ. I'm using the Pro Q3, but you can just use a stock EQ if you don't have this. And all we're going to do is cut the low end out of these vocals. This is basically just going to cut out any muddy frequencies in the mix. In terms of the frequency range, you want to aim anywhere between 50 and 100 hertz. If you hover over this dial right here and scroll, you can kind of play with the steepness of the curve. I like to make it a little bit softer, so that's why it kind of leaks into below 50, but I've also added more of a sharper cut right here. So yeah, let me just play that with and without.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in the Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
And then after.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in the Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
So yeah, just really cleans up that low end. Now the next plugin is optional, and this totally depends on the quality of the vocals that you've got. So if you're recording in your studio and you've got some aircon playing in the back, or you just got external noise coming from your laptop, then you're going to need to use some noise suppression. And for this, I'm going to use the NS1. This one's from Waves. All you've got to worry about is one dial. You just want to dial in some noise suppression. So it basically just kills any of that fan noise, any just external noise that's sitting in the background. And next up, we're going to add some auto-tune. This is essential for any mix. I don't care what anyone says. All the top artists use auto-tune. They don't make their voice sound like a robot like T-Pain used to in the olden days.
God damn it!
But yeah, I like to use Antares Auto-Tune Pro. You can use a stock one. There's a stock one from FL Studio. It's just called Picture, which works just as well. But with Auto-Tune Pro, you can just make it sound just way more smoother and just more natural. Just make sure you got the key locked into the auto-tune so it knows what scale it's working in. And then after that, it's just going to make it sound way better. So this is before.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in the Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
On.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in the Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
So yeah, you can play with these dials, man. Like Humanize just makes it sound a bit more realistic. The retune speed just kind of makes it sound less robotic, makes it sound a bit more robotic, just depending on your own taste. But yeah, that's that. Now the next plugin we're going to use is de-esser. If you don't know what a de-esser does, it basically cuts out any harsh S's and harsh P's. They kind of get picked up naturally from the mic. Top studios with the best mics that have them calibrated perfectly don't actually need de-essing because they are just perfect. But I'm going to assume that most of us don't have access to the top studio. So yeah, we're going to roll with a de-esser. I'm using the Waves de-esser. Again, just real simple de-esser. All you got to think about really is just this one dial right here. You can mess around with the frequencies here and really fine tune it so you can really find those harsh S's. But yeah, just take some time and find the frequency that kind of fits the vocals for you. But just dial it in. If you've never used a de-esser before, just really make it harsh so you can really hear the effect and then kind of dial it back. But yeah, this is before.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
And on.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
So you see we're just attenuating some of those harsh S's.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
I'll dial it in a lot so you guys can really see.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
So you can really hear it sort of pushing back on those S's.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
But yeah, don't go too far with this. I think a lot of people go too far with the S's and it just makes the vocal sound a bit dull. So don't take away too much, just make it nice and subtle. Now the next plugin is a compressor. It's basically a plugin that's just going to allow us to glue the vocals together. Depending on the singer, raw vocals kind of come through quite dynamic. There's some loud parts, there's some really quiet parts, you know, just depending on the vibe of the song too. So you really just want to bring all those closer together. Just makes the whole thing sound smoother and more balanced. So I'm using the CLA 2A delay from Waves, but again, you can use stock plugins, you can use the fruity limiter. Just for ease of use and the sound I get from this, I just like to use it. So let's just play it.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
So it is kind of heavy compression. I'm going just shy of 10 dBs worth of peak reduction. But yeah, this is just essential to really just glue the vocals together. So yeah, let me play before.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
And with.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
Just sounds way more cohesive now. Now the next plugin, we're going to come in with some more EQ. Unlike the first EQ, we're going to use this one to cut out any harsh frequencies and just to boost some areas that we want to get more feeling from. Now this isn't universal, but for the most part, you want to add some brightness to the vocals and just a little bit more body. So as you can see, I've boosted some of the low mids and I've boosted the highs as well up here. It's very subtle, but doing this just brings a little bit more life into the vocal. This is before.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
And after.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
So I like that, but I can even hear like a little bit more. You know, I'm going to take some of the low ends out. I might even just bring up the highs even more.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
And yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Rule of thumb for all of these steps in this video is just to keep things very subtle. Every step, you just want to add a little bit here and there. Just don't overdo it. Now, the last plugin in this mixing system in step 1 is adding some saturation to the vocals. Honestly, this is the source, this plugin right here. This is called Fresh Air from Slate Digital. It's totally free, this plugin, and it just breathes so much life into the vocals. But yeah, let me show you the before and after.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
After.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
So it sounds so dull, and then you just turn it on.
That's gonna pull up for me.
It just adds some crazy life to it, man.
Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
But yeah, that wraps up step 1 of this mixing system. Now we've got some real clean, well-balanced, smooth sounding vocals. Now we can move on to step 2. In step 2, we're going to be getting creative. We're going to be adding that source to the vocals that just gives it that character and that uniqueness. And it also just makes it sound more cohesive with the instrumental. So step 2 is called the effects chain. You might have noticed this earlier, but we've got the effects chain set up just next to the setup chain that we started with. Now, if you're wondering how you're going to get the vocals to run through both this track and also run through your effects chain, then it's really simple to do. Just come to our first mixer track that we've got the vocals running through, the setup. If you look right at the bottom, we've got this little yellow line that kind of connects the two. And to do that, all you need to do is right click this arrow right here and then click on route to this track only. Basically, all that's doing is taking this signal and running it directly to this track so that we can still hear all the effects that we've got running through this initial track. And then now we can go in and start with our effects chain. So the first plugin on my effects chain is some chorus. I like to use the chorus June 6 from Arturia. I don't know how it works, but it just sounds incredible. I've gone with this deep chorus preset and just turned the mix down quite heavily. So this is before.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
And then after.
Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
I'll bump up the mix so you can really hear it.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
But yeah, that just gives it more of a vibey feel, adds a bit more character to it, and I don't know, man, just makes it sound cooler. And by the way, if you wanted to follow along and don't want to set up this whole template, then I've left the exact mixing template down in the description. Just hit that second link and enter your email and I'll send it to your inbox for free. Now the next effect is some reverb. This is just going to put it in a room, make it sound real cohesive with the instrumental. In fact, let's bring the instrumental back during this part. But yeah, this is the reverb. I'm using the Valhalla Vintage Verb. I've just got a standard plate preset loaded up. This one, and I just turned the mix down to about 16%. But again, don't take these presets as gospel. It's all about taste. It's all about dialing in these effects to your own liking. So you can just play around these a little bit, but again, don't overdo it. So yeah, this is before.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE. Couple years ago they said that I wouldn't do shit, now I ball overseas.
Off.
3 billion girls in the world, but I know there's one for me.
That's just way cleaner now. It just adds a bit of tail to it, just makes it sound a bit more vibey, like it's in an actual space. And yeah, it just gives it that kind of clean edge as well at the same time. Now the next plugin is some delay. I use the H delay. This one's from Waves. Again, man, this is just kind of like a go-to one for a lot of people when it comes to delay. I've got the ping pong mode turned on. You can invert the phase right here using these buttons. Just adds a bit more character to it. I've also cut some of the high end of just the delay. So when the delay triggers, it's just going to cut around 5k hertz. And that just means it's not going to interfere too much with the main vocal. But yeah, after that, just kind of left everything as it is. We're on a 1/4 bar delay. This is before.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
After.
Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE. Couple years ago.
So yeah, in the gaps, you can really hear how the effect kind of just adds a bit more vibes to it and just really glues it together with the track.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Started off in a
So yeah,
Corsa and
right in
I'm
the gap.
pulling up in a GLE.
I'll turn the mix up in case you can't really hear it.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Started off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
Yeah, but bring it way down.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me.
But yeah, that wraps up step 2. Don't be afraid to experiment in this effects chain section. You got all these empty slots to play with, so you can experiment with some different effects and just really test the vocals and see what works and come up with something unique. Now step 3 in this mixing system is called automation, kind of giving it away in the name right here, but we're going to get into some techie stuff, so stick around. Now the automation step is kind of optional, but I do think it transforms the mix from sounding pretty solid to a mix that does sound really professional and just has so much more life in it and just so much more going on. So let's dive into FL. As you can see, we've got this automation mixer track set up just next to the other two. Kind of done this in order on purpose just so it's super simple to follow. And as you can see, like earlier, we've linked the effects chain directly to the automation track right here. So basically we're starting off with the main setup and that links to our effects chain and that directly links to our automation track. And then as you can see by this little green line right here, that links back to our master. And let's run through the effects that I used in this mix, just again to really add some life into this. So the first plugin I used was an imager. This is actually a free one from Isotope. It's called Ozone Imager 2. It's just totally free. This is like a stereo widener. It just kind of widens out the vocals, or it can make them more mono down the middle. But in this particular case, I want to really widen out the vocals. Not all the time, just in certain sections, I really want to spread them out. And I normally like to do this when I want to enhance a specific word in the vocals. So this normally can come on like the punchline of a bar or like the end of a bar where the vocal, like, I don't know, it just wants more impact. This is like a really good trick to do that. So I just loaded the imager, added some width to it. So this is before and after.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Start off in a...
So as you can see, it just really widens it out.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me.
But again, it is really wide, and if this effect was to be on this for the entire song, it would sound a little bit too wide. So I only want this to come in at certain parts. So what I'm going to do is right click this dial right here and select create automation clip. I'm going to come into my track, just put this below the vocals, and then just to group these tracks together, I'm just going to right click track 3 and then just group with the track above, maybe even recolor it, just call it automation. And then yeah, I'm going to turn it all the way off like this. And then I'm just going to find phrases in the song where I think it could be nice and wide. So
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Start off in a...
I like this started off phrase, so I'm just going to right click to add a point, make sure it's on hold so it, you know, comes directly on. And again, you'd have to make it full mix. You can make it more subtle, more full, just depending on the impact you want, I guess.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Start off in...
Yeah, and put it right there. Just going to turn the magnet to none, so I got full control. And then yeah, we'll turn it off just before it says in.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Start off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up.
So yeah, nice and subtle, but it's just enough to kind of like go like start off, and then you're like, oh, okay, bring it back to the song again. So yeah, I won't waste any more time doing this one, but again, just go through the entire song and just pick out phrases that you really like the sound of and bring that effect in. Now the next effect that I've gone with is the ensemble. This one is free and this sounds incredible. It's from Kilohertz. I just opened it up, left it on the default preset, and the default normally comes with like 6 voices, so I just doubled it and went to 12. I just wanted it to sound bigger. But yeah, this is what it sounds like before.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me.
After.
Start off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
Bump the mix up so you can hear it.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Start off in a Corsa.
Oh yeah,
and
that
I'm
sounds
pulling
crazy.
up in a GLE.
And again, man, it's a lot, you know, it's kind of heavy. Again, you don't want this playing throughout the whole thing. Unless it does suit the vibe of the song, then you can. You know, there's rappers like Leith who use heavy ensemble on their vocals to make it just sound eerie and alien-esque. But yeah, for this kind of track, I don't want it to be like super obvious. So again, man, we're just going to create an automation clip, put it underneath here, group it, color it, ensemble. Good thing to keep organized as well. But yeah, let's pull this down and then just find a phrase where I think it'll sound cool.
I want a girl that's gon' pull up for me. Start off in a Corsa and I'm pulling up in a GLE.
GLE would sound cool with that effect.
GLE.
So find it there, add a point.
GLE.
I don't want it full send, but
GLE.
too much.
GLE. Couple years ago they GLE.
Ball overseas.
Don't do shit now, I ball overseas. Don't do shit now, I ball overseas. Don't do shit now, I ball overseas.
And I'll bring the stereo imager in too.
Don't do shit now, I ball overseas.
So So yeah, it just spreads out a bit more.
Do shit now I ball overseas.
Okay, and yeah, I won't go through the whole song and do that, but you get the gist. Again, go through, find what sounds cool, and go from there. And the next effect in this chain is some more delay, but we've gone with a bit of a different vibe with this delay. It's more of an obvious delay. Went with the same plugin, H delay, stuck with the ping pong and inverted the phase, but we went with an 8th delay instead this time. And I also cut more of the feedback just so it's not as obvious again. But you'll see right here, the mix is a lot higher. So when I play it, you'll see a big difference.
Do shit now I ball overseas. 3 billion girls in the world, but I know there's one for me.
So yeah, it is kind of invasive. So again, I only want to be tasteful with this and only insert the delay in just parts where I think it suits. And with a delay like this, I just want it to happen when there's a gap after the word, like maybe just the very last syllable in a bar before there's a gap. I want to do it there just to kind of fill those spaces out. So I'm going to right click it again, just create automation clip. Yeah, man, stay organized, bring the mix down.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a course and now I'm pulling up in a GLE.
So I just think the E, that could be cool right there. Come to none, so we can really get in tight with it.
Nope.
Pause. And let's see what it sounds like.
Now I'm pulling up in a GLE. Couple years ago they said that.
So yeah, see how that just kind of adds a bit more vibes to it? I might even pull in some more high frequencies. Let's see how it sounds now.
Now I'm pulling up in a GLE.
Could even play with the speed. So yeah, again, there's no rules, man. Like, toy with it until you find like a vibe that works.
Now I'm pulling up in a GLE. Couple years ago.
That sounds cool.
Now I'm pulling up in a GLE.
Sounds insane. Just go through, and any gaps that you like to just fill out with some cool delay, then definitely try that. It's a really good trick. And then yeah, the last effect on this automation chain that I've got right here is just some reverb. This is kind of good to add with the delay. It just sounds like it adds more space to it. Just gone with the vintage Valhalla verb again. Plate preset exactly the same. Just dialed in the mix a bit more. Added a bit of a longer decay to it. Added some pre-delay as well, just so it doesn't interfere. And then yeah, go crazy with the automations, man. This is the fun part, man. This is where you can get creative and just really kind of piece together the mix. So yeah, let's just try it over the top of that delay. Just want it on the last E, like same as the delay.
Girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a course and now I'm pulling up in a GLE. Couple years ago they said
Bit too much, just dial it back.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a course and now I'm pulling up in a GLE.
I could even bring it in on the me as well.
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me.
So yeah, it just adds more of a washy feel just in that gap right there. So yeah, let me actually just show you this prior to these effects, and then after just gives it so much more of a vibe. So
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a course and now I'm pulling up in a GLE.
and then with the automations,
I want a girl that's gonna pull up for me. Started off in a course and now I'm pulling up in a GLE.
so yeah, you know, just adding these little effects here and there and just bringing them in at certain parts just makes a whole world of difference to the vibe of the song. And similar to step 2, there's no real rules to this automation phase. You can go crazy with some effects depending on the vibe of the song. It just totally depends on your own track and the outcome that you want for it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, that's great for the main vocals, but what about your ad-libs and what about your backs? The good thing is this 3-step system is applicable to both ad-libs and the backs as well. Take a look at the mixer right here. We've got the ad-libs setup, which is step 1, and we've got the exact same mixing chain that we had in the main vocals right here. Then in step 2, we got our effects chain, some different effects right here. We got the chorus as always, reverb, the effect rack where I just added some more heavy delay that was just kind of a bit more vibier, and then some stereo imaging. Just going back to step 1 for the ad-libs, one thing to point out with the ad-libs is that you do want to have some EQ that's just kind of cutting out some of the high frequencies and a bit more of the low frequencies, just so it's a bit more filtered out and again leaves more space for the main vocals to breathe. But other than that, exactly the same. And then step 3, exactly the same, automation, just going with some effects that I felt worked well for this song. And for the backs, you guessed it, exact same process. One thing to note as well is the stereo width down here. For the ad-libs and the backs, I brought these out way more in the stereo field, just so they sound more wider, more felt than heard essentially. But again, same exact process. Setup phase, effects phase, automation phase. Drops a good one. Feel free to copy this mixing template for yourself and let me know how you're getting on in the comments. And if you want to get this exact mixing template with all the plugins preloaded, then just hit the second link in the description and I'll send it to you totally free. But this mixing system is kind of totally pointless if you don't have a hit-worthy beat with those knocking 808s to begin with. So if you want to get all the sauce for making beats that hit hard, then check out this video right here. Peace.